Good morning. Welcome everybody to the First 15 Accountability Call with Intentional Professionals. My name is Melinda B. Powers, founder and manager of Intentional Professionals. And this is our way to get your week off to a jump start, just 15 minutes of accountability every week, Monday morning, Eastern Standard Time. All right, so let's just get right into it because we got to get started. Let's report those wins out. So if you're joining us live on any of the three platforms, we're on YouTube, we're on LinkedIn, and we're on Facebook, feel free to comment. Just note that I may not be able to see all of your comments because different platforms interact with this platform differently. If you do comment, I will be sure to respond to you after the broadcast is over. So wins. This is the part of the call where we talk about what wins we had the week before. And it could be something small, it could be something big, doesn't matter. We want to give you an opportunity and a space to celebrate what you've accomplished the prior week so we can start the week off on a high note. For me, I ended the week in talks with a local nonprofit about doing some business that could be a really good thing for my business. And it's really exciting. Working through the terms right now. And I'm really hoping that this ends up being a good relationship for my business and for that organization. All right. So if you got wins, we use the first 5 minutes of the call to talk about our wins. And that's what we do here. Another thing I wanted to report back on, because it's all about accountability and I'm transparent. So you guys know I've been working on my third digital course, the Model Board Member Masterclass. It's a little bit of a tongue twister there. And last week I reported we were about 95% complete. We're still at that point because a lot of things came up last week. As you know, life is unpredictable. Business is really no different. And so that has not fully launched. It is available for pre-sale, but we're going to do the full launch this week. I promise. There have been so many things going on, but I appreciate you being here and giving me someone to be accountable to, because if any of you out there are entrepreneurs, business owners, then you know that sometimes it's tough when you don't have an accountability partner. And sometimes you can be a little lenient on yourself and you just don't want to, and it's just convenient not to. But it's really great to still be disciplined and hold yourself accountable. I believe I saw something about that this morning. Ivo, if you're watching, I think you posted that on LinkedIn this morning. And so, and I was nodding my head in agreement when I saw that, because I have the same issues. You know, it's easy to just do the things but not feel like you have to hold yourself to a certain standard when you know no one really knows what you're doing. You don't have a supervisor or a manager watching you and evaluating you. You're basically in charge of evaluating yourself. But if you want to show good character and you want to set a good example, you want to hold yourself to that standard and not treat yourself differently than you would an employee, or treat yourself differently than you would if you were on a job and you were being supervised and managed by someone else that has to report your performance. It really is no different. It's more of how the standards you have for yourself and how you see yourself is really not a different thing. So if you're handling that differently, you might want to rethink that, because when you do have to hire, how are you going to handle that? And your employees, they see you. It's not a one-way street. So I'm not going to stay on that too long, but I just wanted to make that bit of a point. But again, if you got wins, please put them in the chats on the respective platform you're watching from. I really like to know what's going on with you guys, and sharing that is part of why we're here. All right, so now we're just going to move into the next section. It's basically where we, pat ourselves on the back for what we did complete. And then I give you a little bit of a pep talk, and I talk about something that's relevant or pertinent to what you might be going through as an owner, as a person in business, in a career. And this week in my blog, which I put out every Monday morning, I'm sorry. It's more like Sunday night because it's around midnight, but every Monday a blog post goes out from the Intentional Professionals blog on my website. And this week it was all about storytelling. So why is that important? So storytelling is really key because as people, we love stories. We really do. We watch television, those are stories. We talk to each other, we tell each other stories, we tell ourselves stories. We listen to music. Music is a story. Um, Everything in our life revolves around telling stories and hearing stories and retelling those same stories. You know, nursery rhymes. We learn those very young, and we repeat them our whole lives. And then you become a parent, you repeat them to your children, and it just goes on and on and on. So the importance of storytelling comes in with business. I say it's a business strategy. It absolutely is, because some of the best brands have really good stories. They tell great ones. We love what they're talking about. We resonate and connect with them on those storylines. Sometimes they repel us if you are paying attention to what's going on currently. Some people are not thrilled about some of the stories that some of their favorite brands are telling, and they are boycotting those brands and saying, this doesn't speak to me. I don't want to support this. But that just goes to show how strong storytelling is. So just think about some of the brands and companies that you use, that you're very intertwined with and connected to, and what story they're telling. Part of their story has to do with you, the customer. They are trying to speak in a language that you understand and that you like, that you will respond to. So like Dove does a good job of that, and they really got specific about how they spoke to women, because obviously women are buying most of their products, and they had to really listen to their audience to figure out what's important to them. Why do they buy our products? What about our products what about our products do they like? And it was all about, the skin, how it feels, having confidence. So it was like a body confidence thing. So they started showing more women of different sizes. And that resonated with a lot of women, because not everyone's a size 2 or size 0, and not everyone has perfect skin. But everyone wants to have, feel good in their skin and be comfortable. So that's just one brief example, but there are tons out there, and we all are responding to those stories, whether we realize it or not. I know for me, any company that can show me something really pretty kind of has me. I'm a bit of a sucker for aesthetics, but that's a whole other conversation. But just think about that storytelling, but use that as a business owner. Put yourself in your favorite brand shoes and think about, how can I connect better with my customers? How do they know I see them? It's really important. They may not know you see them because you're not speaking their language. You're not talking about what they want to hear about. You're not highlighting the things that would make them want to use your product or service. You're talking about, you're selling to them. You're talking about features that they may not even care about. But if you did it in a way that really connected with them, it'd be a whole other ball game, right? And then there's some brands, honestly, that they don't even actively tell their story. They are able to present their product or service in a way where the customer kind of fills in the blanks. Like, have you ever seen a Tesla commercial? I haven't. If they exist, I've never seen one. But everybody kind of knows what Tesla means and who they're targeting and why. And the people that love them. But they've been able to figure out a way to tell that story without even saying much. So it can be approached in a lot of different ways. It doesn't have to just directly be them telling these elaborate stories, but just really think about that the next time you're watching television, commercials or stories, reading a magazine, listening to the radio, which I admit I don't do that much, but if you're still using a lot of those mediums, you're always being fed stories constantly. But figure out how you can be the one controlling that narrative as a business owner or someone in a professional role. All right, moving on. So these last 5 minutes is what I like to call the me time. And me stands for most impactful item. And this is our goal setting session of the call, where we talk about what we want to accomplish this week. Like, if you accomplish this one thing, you would just feel like you've hung the moon, right? And it doesn't have to be huge. It can be something really insignificant or seemingly insignificant to other people, but it would, oh, I can see your comments, Ivo. I just realized. So Ivo, okay, let's go back. She has a win. So let me go back. Her win was she's been pivoting for the past month. So this week's win is that I established a consultancy deal with a digital transformation firm as their AI business specialist. Good job. Oh my gosh. So that is amazing. I know Ivo is a big fan of Chat GPT and all that technology. We talk about that sometimes offline, but that's amazing. Like, and for you, those of you that are listening, this is going to be a lot more common in the coming months and years, just because it's not about AI replacing you. And I've talked about this previously. It's about you learning how to work with it. So Ivo has really been doing a great job of that. We talk about this all the time, and that is amazing. So congratulations, Ivo. Kudos to you. And then your me time you're sharing. Thank you. Your me is to complete and launch your Recognizing Red Flags virtual coaching session and free course. Ooh, now that sounds good. Recognizing red flags. That is key. And I will say, as a person who did eventually learn how to do that, it's not easy. And it's really hard to avoid certain red flags when you don't know what they look like. And they're never going to say, hey, I'm a red flag. You have to kind of look for signs. So I think that'll be a really great course. I'm really interested to hear more about that. So we'll talk later. But so for me, let's get to my me time. That's a really good one. This week, I have a lot of things going on. I have to pick one, actually. And I think that my main goal this week is going to be to close that deal that I was talking about earlier, get as close to closing as possible, because it's not all in my hands, but there's some work that I still have to do on my end to deliver to the potential client. And that is definitely on my radar to be a priority, because it could be a really great relationship. And I'm really looking forward to seeing that come to fruition. So that's my me, along with getting the other stuff done that hadn't gotten done yet. So I feel so, in a sense, I got to feel bad because I'm here cheering for accountability. But part of accountability, people, is being honest when you come up short and not giving up, not just abandoning, oh, I didn't do it, moving on. That's not a good look either, because you are still not closing that loop. And when you leave loops open, they don't close on their own. And you're going to have to go back and close that loop anyway. So knowing that and continuing to work towards that is very important. But another thing, I think one of the worst things you can do when it comes to accountability is to lie, because you are basically telling whoever is holding you accountable that they don't matter and that you're above you. Like, accountability doesn't apply to you, basically. So if you lie, say, oh yeah, I completed that, and you didn't, you're doing yourself a disservice, and you're doing whoever around you is asking a disservice, because you're not setting a great example. And if they ever do find out, which I tend to believe that people, they find out about lies, maybe not immediately, but eventually. And that's not going to leave a good impression when they find out you just lied because you wanted to look good. It's not about appearances. It's about honesty, and it's about authenticity. That's what accountability means. And if you're not able to be authentic and say, hey, I dropped the ball, you might need help. That might be why you can't finish. And if you're not, I hate to say humble, because so many people assign that different meanings, but if you're not humble enough to say, I can't complete all this on my own, maybe I do need some assistance, and that's why I'm not quite getting this done. Sometimes it requires you to say, hey, help me out here. Can you look over this? Maybe you're stalling on something because you think it's not quite where it needs to be, but it might not be that bad. So again, reaching out, looking for help, being okay with not having it all together. Well, that's that. 15 minutes goes really fast. That's my time. I will talk to you all next week. Thank you so much, Ivo, for joining us again. You've been there with us. We appreciate you. But everyone, have a great day, and I'll see you next week.